at the GSL up and downs. Carl Wolf with our Protoss player starting things up to the top left, starting for Team MVP. It is
MVP Super.
I love, by the way, the zoom out that Blizzard now included in their user overlays and interface. I really like it. And starting to the bottom right in this Protoss versus Zerg, we have the second Zerg of the up and down Group A. It is
Jin Air Green Wing Savage.
Savage going up in a Protoss versus Zerg. And Savage actually, he lost, I think, in the second round of the Challenger League. I'm just trying to confirm that. For some reason I can't find his name. Well, now I feel silly. Ah, there he is. Savage lost in a ZVZ versus Sleep with 2-1. So he came down from Codes, aka the Premier League of WCS. And then we have Super, who lost in a PvP against Yonghwa, who then continued to go all the way against Trap and is now in the Premier League for Season 3. So two pretty successful players in the Challenger League. And also keep in mind that we have Super with a 2-0 versus Koka in the first round.
This is true. Super right now is, he's actually scared his opponent into going pool before hatchery, when he's just going to go for a Nexus first, not a gateway expand. So this is actually a really good opening for Super. I'm be happy with this. Has to be careful, of course, needs to get his forge up, but it's being very annoying with his probe as well. He's harassed several drones. He's also going to block the hatchery here for a really long time with that probe. I don't think he'll pylon block because he hasn't started his forge back at home, and that would be a bit too overzealous. Yeah, going to go ahead and let that hatchery down.
So hatch after pool for Savage. Very standard opening here. Just making sure that there's no problem being can rushed or anything like that. A couple of really good positions on this map in particular where you can even try to get into the main base. The cannon on the low ground, for example, right at the cliff is really dangerous if you let that happen. But in this case, we have now normal openings for both of these players. Super actually decided to go into the Forge opening instead of Gateway. Will delay his tech a little bit more. And there's already a drone on the way to the third base. He really wants to get the third up.
Yeah, and even Super leaving a probe patrolling so he could try to block. Does not react quickly enough, and the hatchery goes down. Wouldn't have been able to block for very long with the Zerglings there, but any little thing can help. The Overlord already heading towards the main base, so we'll be hiding along with the second Overlord to find out what tech we're going to see from Super. And, you know, I'm expecting Stargate coming out on this map, just probably a Phoenix build to a third base. We have seen some players try to skip that tech, just get +1 and take a fast third with a few gateways to pressure the Zerg. Because the third place on this map is so easy to take for Protoss. You can wall it off with the destructible debris.
Yeah. A few builds that kind of have disappeared on this map, and to the day I do not know why. This was actually one of the things that I was talking about with Idra quite a lot at the tournament in Helsinki, is why do we not see those really turtly builds anymore for Protoss on this map going into Void Ray, Phoenix and High Templars? It's something that was so popular at the beginning, and Zerg struggled against this so much, and then suddenly it just disappeared. And it didn't disappear because Zerg was suddenly figuring it out and was winning every single game against this build. It just fell off the grid at some point. And it's a very annoying and also like maybe a bit of a boring style to play as a Protoss player. But it just has so much success that I would have expected this, especially in very important matches, to just come back a little bit more.
Yeah, you know, I was always a little bit surprised when that build went away too. I think part of it is Zerg players figured out how to zone a little bit better with Vipers and Swarm Hosts, and they max out with Queens, but you know, it didn't seem like there was ever a period where Zerg had totally figured it out. Like, Zerg kind of figured out the Immortal all-in that Parting was doing, and that build kind of went away, and it kind of makes sense why, but that one, it did kind of just fall off a little bit.
We have a pretty interesting timing for the Roach Warren here. We're going into a 6-minute Roach Warren, and that looks like we have a Speedling Roach aggression headed our way. Not quite sure just yet if he really wants to go for that. But with the third base that he's spotted now, he should know that there is very little aggression coming out of Super, and Super actually taking a huge risk with this early third. I mean, that's a 6-minute third base that he's building there.
It would be a different story if he was doing it behind the cover of the rocks on the right side, but he's taking this third, which is the third base that you want to take if you're very confident in defending, like a Zerg would. Then they take the easier fourth that's super, super easy to defend once you've already taken that third, but usually the Protoss does it the other way around, taking the one behind the rocks and then taking this one. So this is actually going to be really tough to defend with those roaches coming out. Will he scout this
I don't think that he can defend it, to be quite frank with you, because the robotics is not even completed. He will not have any immortals to deal with this. We have so many roaches being built right now, 10. The speedling upgrade is going to line up with the attack. Not perfectly, but it will hit during the attack. We have only 38 harvesters. There's the lava. Additional injects will pop in just a few seconds. And this is really aggressive by Savage. And I would be very surprised, even with the photon overcharge, if Super is able to hold this third base.
Yeah. You know, he's got a nice wall here. He could hold. It's going to be tough. His army is all the way up his ramp. He doesn't have very many units. I don't see it happening.
The army supply is 9 against 43. He needs that mothership core. He needs the photon overcharge to make it happen. He has the cannon there, and that's helping. But without the mothership core, I just don't see him hold against this. He's gonna try though. He's starting to build up his wall at the front. And Savage, he doesn't care at all about that third. He is going for the natural. In with a few circlings. Bye-bye sentry. Trying to shut those force fields down. The cannon already gone. And the mothership core not going for the photon overcharge. Actually standing at the right side, trying to take down units on his own. That's a big mistake.
Yeah.
He needs that photon overcharge, and he needs it now.
It's too late. The Lings are already in. The cannons are being targeted down here. The photon overcharge goes off, but it's very, very late. He can either just target down the Nexus or just ignore the photon overcharge. Goes for the Robo here instead. The first Immortal not going to pop.
No, that Immortal is not going to be part of the composition, and the Roaches, they go to town. The rest of the Warbands are already being attacked. Super, playing super greedy, and he's being punished for it. Going into Bay, going into everything that he had. Now the Nexus is being focused on. A lot of the drones are already gone. 6 workers killed.
He might hold.
I do not really like
not his hold is natural, but you know he's got a lot more probes, and he's actually fighting with them here. Now there's no way. There's not enough gateways. His gateways aren't ready. The Lings are going to come through here.
And now this is a slaughter against the Harvesters. The natural is already gone. He has that third. Keep that in mind. He's trying to hold off. If he can secure 2 bases somehow, then maybe. But things are looking so bad for Super now. Those Roaches and Lings, they just don't stop.
Yeah, they don't stop. And the production here for Super is just not there. Lugi has 1,000 resources right now that he can't spend. He's going to be pylon blocked here. He unpowers all of his gateways.
That buys him a lot more time where he can be aggressive with the Roaches, and the tech of course already gone. And well, the third base, it's mining, but is that enough?
I don't think so, and especially considering that Savage can just go for it at any time. He's getting his lair back at home, 12 more Roaches.
He should take down the core. I'm not quite sure why he doesn't take down the core. He wants to go for the third. It's already over anyways. The GG dropped, and Savage takes the first win.
Playing like a Savage, no doubt, in that game.
Oh yeah, he came in swinging and he hit hard.
That was a very, very risky build that we saw. And if you go for that build at the safer third where you have a wall, you might just be able to hold, but even still, you leave yourself so exposed to the natural. He tried to do that and go into the robotic support bay without the gateway support, and he just didn't have production. You saw him bank up all those murals because he couldn't buy units. He lost his Immortal that he was trying to get out. And it was late on the photon overcharge, but I think he was hoping that maybe he'd get enough force fields out to hold a little bit longer to get those gateways completed.
Yeah, the big problem that we really saw happening here is that from the beginning, Savage was already trying to go into this aggressive build. It was not like he completely reacted to what was going on, but he built that Roach Warren and he got the speed because he had the intention to be at least aggressive. And then when the Roach Warren is already on the board, he goes in and scouts that third base, and he's just looking at it, he's like, sick. And he's like, oh my god, the build out of my opponent just works so well with what I'm doing right here. He's playing in my hands. My aggression should be able to overwhelm him. And I feel that's why he didn't go into the third, because he realized there can't be enough to defend the third and the natural.
Exactly. I really like his choice to go for the natural because he knows if he attacks the third, that's how Super can get enough units at his natural where he's got a wall, he has a ramp to defend, he can get enough units there to hold. He's going to lose his third base 100% if it gets attacked by Savage, but Savage is like, no, that's how you can actually live. You can actually survive if I attack your third, but if I attack your natural, that's when you're going to die. I'm going to get into your production. It doesn't matter if you have all the money at the third base because you can't spend it on anything without production, without the robo, without the gateways.
Yeah, and then he forces his way in, and also there was one of those points where we just saw that Super was just freaking out a little bit and panicking. He hit the force field very late. He allowed a few of the Zerglings to get in. They took down one of the sentries. With additional force fields, he would have been able to hold a little bit longer. The Mothership Core, very late with the drop on the photon overcharge, that it could have helped him a little bit. The robotics goes down just seconds before that first Immortal is out. And the Immortal would have been exposed, but if he somehow manages to save that and bring it to the back, then maybe he can take down a couple of those Roaches. As it is, though, we have Savage taking a 1-0 in the group. And Flying is now up against Yoda in the Terran versus Protoss.
Yep.
And Yoda is already down again.
I'm really excited to see this map because Anaconda is a map that's shown us really, really weird games in the past just because there's a weird free backdoor expansion. We've also seen players lock other players out of their opponent's bases by killing destructible rots. We've seen Bomber try to go mech on this map by taking a third base and got storm dropped, didn't work out against Rain. This is a very unique map that I'm not sure will actually make it to the pool when we go into the Premier League next season, but it's fun, it's different, and this is a map where you can prepare a lot of different build orders for.
Yeah, that's definitely true. You can go and try to get a bit of a win here just by executing a certain strategy and maybe even roll the dice. Flying, it's his first game in this group, so he would like to have that early win, and he's a very cheeky opponent, very aggressive, and he's also someone who is very, very strong and difficult to face. Yoda, on the other hand, he's hiding under his desk.
Yeah. Maybe he's got a cable connection problem or something. We're actually in the loading screen, so you better get up fast.
Yeah, I guess we might actually see a restart here. Whatever is wrong seems to be a bit of a problem with the PC. So Yoda has a problem. I guess that means that we are going into a rehost.
Yeah, he's not loading in the game, so I think he actually just closed his PC, which means we might have to wait for him to time out. Which means that we might not time out, we might just everybody restart. I don't know. It looks like he had a problem with one of his USBs or something. He just closed the game to try to prevent having to go through all the pausing and stuff. He called the referee right over immediately, so it's not like he's doing something weird.
For Yoda, things are looking, I don't want to say grim, but definitely he needs to, I feel he needs to hit his stride and get into the right mindset. If he can do that against Flying, that leaves him, of course, with a 1-1 situation in the group, and then he can definitely start to take his win slowly but steadily and then go to the top.
You can see, you know, in the past, he's grown off that momentum. He's snowballed. He's gotten all kills before because he sits in the booth, he gets himself warmed up, he gets himself ready, and once he wins one game, he's like, okay, I got this, and then he gets the next one. That's something he gets on fire, and he just keeps going, but today is one of the days where it's not happening. He's got technical issues with his computer. Before that, he loses 2 SCVs, which, you know, was not the end of the world, but then he left the game before it was over because he was getting too stressed out, or I'm not even sure what the issue was there, but you know, now he's got to make sure that he can get himself in the right mindset. And when you're finally, you have a whole time, you have a whole game to sit there while you're not playing, the other two players are playing, you're trying to get yourself in the right mindset, and then suddenly you have a PC problem, your whole mind is reset at that moment.
Yeah. He needs to get this killer instinct up now if he wants to take down Flying, and of course against Flying it's not going to be easy at all. He is a very aggressive player, and for Yoda it would be the worst thing in the world if he loses that game, and if he loses it maybe, let's say, to an Immortal Buster or anything like that, maybe a really heavy gateway aggression, because then Yoda goes down 0-2 in the group and has I mean, we saw it in game number 1. He definitely left the game prematurely. He didn't have it won or a massive advantage, but it was nowhere a position where he should have left the game. And if he now loses the second one in a quick fashion, I feel that Yoda's mindset is just going to be destroyed, and he will have a very tough time to come back in that series. So for him, definitely the most important game, I feel. If he doesn't take this one, I don't think he has a chance today to advance, not only because he's in 0-2,
to be honest,
but also because of the mind issue.
To be honest, I feel like if he loses this one, I would predict him to go 0-4 and not win a single map in the group, because that's just how Yoda goes, you know? If he's on an off day, he's kind of like Liquid Hero in that way, you know? If he has a rough start, you just don't expect him to do well that day because it affects him so much mentally. We'll see, though. This is, like you said, I think this is the most important map. He has to win this map, and he has to win it well. And, you know, he's up against a weird opponent. Flying does crazy stuff. You know, on this map, you would expect a Pross player to take a fast third, go for the late game, but Flying, you can't really ever expect Flying to play normal. And sometimes he does play normal, and that also surprises you. So he's just a crazy player.
The thing what you can do on Anaconda is actually like get one of those pylons over at the rocks and just warp in on the other side. And if a Terran player, or a Zerg for that matter, thinks he's safe taking that base and maybe just patrolling one Marine or a Zergling at the rocks, then he's very mistaken. So we've seen this in the past, where suddenly a second round of warping occurs, 6 Zealots run into the natural while there's an attack at the main ramp towards the main base, and then a player just panics and is like, oh my god, how do I defend this?
Yeah, it feels like Delta Quadrant or something.
Yeah, it's really, it can be really awkward, and it can be one of those things that cost you the game. And this is a best of 1. This is why those up and downs are just so difficult to play, because you are not in a best of 3, you're not in a best of 5, you're not in a position where you can just afford to lose a map or maybe even 2 and just come back with better play and with a very macro-oriented style. This is a best of 1 system, and there will be certain players that just prepare a build against you, try to exploit what you did in the past, and maybe roll the dice and go for a very aggressive proxy play. So very difficult to face, and that can whittle away at your confidence.
For me, if I'm flying, if I'm Yoda, I'm going to be playing the safest macro-oriented game I can with drop play. Not going to be trying to take very many risks on this map, even though this is a good map for taking risks against an opponent like flying. When you're already down, then I think actually, you know, it's you just got to play the safest way. You don't want to actually take any chances against flying.
Yeah. If I actually understood production correctly, I'm not 100% sure, but apparently something happened with Yoda's PC, so we need a little bit more time to set that up. I'm not quite sure what he did with the computer.
Yeah, I don't know what he did, but I think we're going to a commercial break.
Exactly. So as soon as we are back, we are heading into Yoda versus Flying, trying to figure out what's wrong with the Terran player's PC here. See you guys in a few at the GSL Up and Downs.